Okay, nice. So right now we are transmitting. So that's perfect. Okay, so we have Julian, we have Liz, and we have Maria Angelica, right?
Right, teacher. I can show my image, my camera, because I have some problems with the light and connection from my computer. Participating from my phone.
Okay, it doesn't matter. It's okay. Yeah. Hey, and I can see that Luis has two two pictures, no, two videos on the same time.
I already turned off my laptop. I want to start using my cell phone instead.
Okay, it's not a problem. Okay, guys. So I'm going to show you the lesson we have for tonight, so you can check it with me. So I'm going to share the screen. Okay. So we also have
Can you
Carolina
hear
here.
me?
Yeah, Julian, nice to see you here.
Okay.
Okay, so the only person that is not here is Victor. Remember Victor, guys?
Yes, of course. He was in class last week.
Yeah, nice person. Okay, I think he will be here in some minutes. Okay, so as you can see on the screen, we have the lesson plan we have for tonight. Okay, and tonight we are going to work on topics or parts 3 and 4 of the CAE. So you were supposed to watch two videos about these parts or the CAE examination. And I
Yes.
guess these parts are the more difficult, sorry, are the most difficult ones. So I want you to please tell me what you saw on the video, what you understood. So if you can, or if you want to share that information with us, that would be great. So did you watch the video, guys?
I did watch
Yes,
them, of
teacher.
course.
Okay. So please, what did you see? What did you understand?
So on part three, the video is says that this part is about 4 minutes long. Are two students talking, interacting, between them, and they're talking about some topics, that is shown by the examiner. And this conversation is made of 5 parts, or 5 topics. So the idea is try to give your reasons, and try to answer all the questions, and vocabulary is the key.
Okay, that was great. And what about part 4?
So but about part four is about like some questions asked by the examiners, and which the student have to interact among them. Is your question and responding, giving reasons, and that's the dynamic of part four. But they have like a monitor in this case who is the examiner.
Okay, thank you. That was very good. And what about you guys? Did you watch the videos? Do you want to give your opinion about them? Victor, Carolina, Maria Angelica.
Yes, teacher. I watched the video. And after watching the
Okay.
video, I'm gonna give you some two general reasons about it. The first one talks about some recommendations about how to answer the question from our examiner. For example, it talks about some mistakes that we can make while we're speaking English. Yes, we have to give rations, we have to answer correctly the questions, and we have to avoid repeating words. We have to be very accurate with our answers and with our own opinion. And the second, we have an example about interaction between two different mates or partners, and it shows us some examples from mistakes while they're talking about different topics, and they change the idea because one of the participants can't answer correctly.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's right. Okay, guys, and Victor, Carolina, did you
Um,
watch the videos?
yes, teacher. And
All
is
right.
what that opinion for two partners. I talk about the strategies and in the exam for to talk about with other person and talk about that mistake and what is the run that they use say in the talk about repeat the word and is equal what me that's say muletillas, no sé cómo se dirá.
Well, that's a good question. I'm going to check. But yeah, continue, please.
Yes, and no more.
Okay, in the second video?
Oh no, and the second video is the debate for two two person. It's very for me it's very difficult to continue to the understand what a topic and only see the video.
Okay, don't worry. So we are going to work on that. Okay, guys. So Julian and Victor, we are talking about the two videos that we were supposed to watch before the class. So if you want to participate about them, this is the moment before we start.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Sir and peers.
Okay.
Well, according to the third video, third part, okay, CAE, it talks about the communication with our partners when we are taking the exam, our speaking exam. We will interact with another person, with another partner, and it could be probable that we have two partners. Okay, and the seminary to look at is going to look at us in order to evaluate our grammar, communication, and the examiner is going to say some questions about different topics. For instance, technology, about work. It's necessary to have some suggestions into account. For instance, if our partner doesn't say anything, so it's necessary to have interaction with him. What happens if our partner doesn't shut up? So there are common problems in the speaking test. And finally, it's necessary to use to take advantage of each part of this test. For instance, we cannot lose time. It's necessary to be punctual. It's necessary to because if you know a lot of English, but if you aren't punctual, what the seminary asks, you cannot pass the exam.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Julian. All right. So, Victor, you want to participate in this part?
About the first video, I could see, for example, a teacher or I don't know, an instructor giving some steps how to answer an exam, a test, an official test, for example, the minutes, the time, giving the time, and giving some, how can I say, I don't know, the steps how to answer the exam. I couldn't watch the other video. I must talk with the through.
That's right. We need to be very honest.
Thank
okay. Don't worry.
Well, according to the power part, I think this is a conversation, right, between two persons, and in this part, they are talking about internet. Okay, if the libraries will disappear, at the future with the internet, and this is an example of a speaking test, and they are giving their opinions, the correct words in order to debate, to have a debate and communication about this topic. I think that is the fourth part.
Okay, so basically what we are going to have tonight is something very similar to the things you observed or watched on the videos. We are going to have the two parts, the third one and the fourth one. For the third one, we are going to work in pairs as well as for the second one. In the third part, we are going to, or I'm going to ask you, or I'm going to give you some strategies. So if you have maybe a sheet of paper or maybe you have a notebook so you can take some notes, that would be great, you know, because the idea right now in this part is to have two people. The first person is going to have 2 minutes. So that person is going to answer the question that I am going to ask. And the other person in the group of two people needs to take some notes, you know, like the things you believe or think about the words your partner is saying. And the idea when you have your 2 minutes is to answer the question, but you need to tell me or you need to tell the group if you agree or disagree with the other person's opinion. All right? So basically, that's going to be the first part. That's going to be the part 3 of the CAE that we are going to practice tonight. So I'm going to repeat again the way we are going to work. So remember, we are going to work in pairs. It needs 2 people. So in this case, we have 5 people. So one of you is going to work with me. And basically what we are going to do is to ask a question. The first person starts answering the question and the other person takes notes, okay, about what the other person is saying. And then when the 2 minutes finish, you need to give your answer, but you need to take into account the other person's opinion. Okay? So is that clear for you guys?
Okay.
Yes, it's
Okay.
Yeah, no questions?
No, so far, so
no.
good.
Okay, great. So let's make a brief example, you know, a short example to see if this works the way it should. So I'm going to share another slide with you. So give me a second. About part 3. Okay, so I'm going to share this one with you. Okay, so we have a question on the screen. Can you see it? So basically the question is, what are the advantages and disadvantages of learning a new language in these different ways? And we have 4 different ways: full immersion, online learning, in a classroom with a teacher and other students, and with a private tutor. So those are the 4 categories or the 4 possibilities. So the idea is to answer that question in 2 minutes. And then the other person is going to agree or disagree with the first person's answer, okay, and explain why. So basically, that's it. So do you want maybe to, okay, I'm going to give my answer to this question, and I hope that maybe one of you can tell me if you agree or disagree with me, okay? And that's going to be the example. Okay, so for me, the advantages of learning with a private tutor are, for example, that you have a person with you, just with you, no more people there, just 2 people, the teacher and you. So that's very good because in that way you can ask direct questions and you can have direct opinions from your tutor or teacher. So that's perfect. The disadvantages, in my opinion, for example, can be that you need more people around so you can interact. Sometimes when you are working just with one person, you need you feel that you need an extra person or maybe 2 more people because it tends to be boring. And maybe at the end of the class, you are not paying attention. So in my opinion, it's better to have 2 or 3 people, even with a private tutor. Okay, well, so that was my answer, guys. So I want you, please, one of you, just one, to tell me if you agree or disagree with me and why.
Can I, teacher?
Yeah, please.
Okay. I totally agree with you, teacher, because when you talk about an education from a private tutor, we can get a better education, better understanding, better grammar. But there is a problem, like you told me. What is the problem? The problem is that we always need some people to interact. Moreover, if we're talking about another language, because when we're speaking English, for example, we need to know about our mistakes, our needs about this new learning. Yes, in this case, we have problems if we're talking only just a tutor with a private tutor because we can learn more if we're interacting all the time with more students. This is
Okay, thank
a
you.
advantage and a disadvantage.
Okay, an advantage and a disadvantage. Okay,
Yes,
okay. Hey, remember that in plural, for example, those words like advantage and disadvantage, the sound of changes to
exactly.
advantages and disadvantages.
And
So that was
sometimes,
very good.
I'm sorry, teacher.
Yeah, don't worry.
Sometimes when we're learning alone, for example, by online ways, we can know more about some recommendations from a tutor, for example, you in this case.
Yeah, that's something very good about it. You know, you're right in that way. Okay, guys. So we are going to start. Okay, so I want two people to start. So who wants to start?
I like to start.
Okay, Luis. Okay, someone else?
Well,
Who
about
is the one
this,
who's going to take note? It's the same question for everybody.
Victor, you want to start with Luis?
yes, I must, how can I say, answer something about Luis, or I didn't understand so well.
You should take notes and then give your own answer.
Well, in this case, the idea for you is to listen to Luis because he's going to answer first. You need to take some notes if you agree or disagree with him. And then by the end of the 2 minutes, you are going to start your participation, telling if you agree or disagree and why.
All right.
Okay. And I'm going to give you just 2 minutes, all right? So I'm going to stop you when you have your 2 minutes on the clock, okay?
All right.
Okay. So the question is the same one, okay, Luis? So what are the advantages and disadvantages of learning a new language in these different ways? Okay, you have 2 minutes.
Okay, so in my opinion, or from my point of view, I think that one of the advantages of learning English, let's say, from a classroom is pretty good because you can have the chance to interact with the others. You learn from those mistakes. Plus, you have the assistance from the teacher. One of the disadvantages is that, for example, some people sometimes they can be very shy. They are no they're not eager to speak. They feel like quite timid. So that could be one of the biggest disadvantages of learning a new language in a classroom. Moreover, in the long run, you can, left out for example, your fears and start interacting with everybody around you. So I think from my, learning experience, I think it's even better to learn English in a classroom while learning in other ways, let's say such as online or with a private tutor, or for example in a full-time immersion course when some people travel to overseas to learn a language.
Okay, you still have 42 seconds.
Plus, the classrooms are alive, that depends on the size of the class. That's true that, for example, if the class is quite big, like 25 people or more, could be a little bit, stressful. It's a little bit hectic in and out. But otherwise, you have a lot of fun interacting with, with among other people and with the tutor. It's also, very, very, very rewarding. So I think that the setbacks could be, minimal when it comes to learning English in a classroom. So
Okay,
from now
time.
on, I want. Okay.
Okay, so those were 2 minutes. Okay, that was very good. Thank you. All right, Victor. So you have 2 minutes, okay, to answer the question and tell us if you agree or disagree with Luis. Okay.
In some
So
aspects, for example, I disagree with Luis because I consider this is the best case, for example, to learn. In my case, I have found the opportunity to take courses in a classroom where you have the opportunity to have a teacher face to face and to have the opportunity to study with other partners. Maybe, yes, we said, for example, other students don't have the same level or don't have the same, I don't know, how can I say, the same, I don't know, animum, but we have the opportunity to have different kind of aspects of the topic, with different kind of levels of the students. And if you have any hesitating, for example, you can try with your teacher that is face to face with you. At the contrary, for example, when we are studying by virtual, it is so difficult. I was talking with a teacher nowadays, and I expressed her, for example, that when we have the opportunity to study online, for example, we do not have the same opportunities when you are studying face to face. And when you are studying with other students, it's so important because you have the opportunity to practice outside of the classroom. Maybe some students would like to practice outside, and sometimes you have the opportunity to practice with your teacher in real time, with real things, using good material. The teacher is going to prepare the material according to the needs of the students, so that it is so important to learn in group. When you are learning in community, I think, for example, it is the most important part of the learning, because every
okay,
student.
time. Okay, Victor. Thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yes,
Okay. So I'm going to tell you something. All right. So in my opinion, Victor, your language and your pronunciation is very good. You can say what you want to say, so that's very good. But in this case, so from my point of view, Luis just told us that he considered that the best option is the one in the classroom with a teacher and other students, and he told us why. And if I am not wrong, the first part that you mentioned it was that you disagree with him.
Yeah, no, he said, for example, some students have problems. Maybe I listened to him in that part sometimes, for example.
Okay, so from my perspective, if I were the examiner of this test, I would tell you that maybe you didn't listen clearly to Luis in the first part, because he mentioned it that that's the best option in his opinion. And the first part that you mentioned it was that maybe you didn't agree with him. But it's okay, it's at the end you told us that it's very good to have a classroom and to have interaction with the other people. But you need to be very concentrated in that part. That's my opinion, okay?
All right, thank you.
No problem. Okay, so guys, we need two more people. So who wants to be the next person?
Me.
Okay, Julian.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and we need a girl.
I
Maria Angelica. Okay, let's do
I
it.
want to participate.
Okay, so Maria Angelica, you are going to answer the question first, and Julian, you are going to take
Okay.
notes. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, so Maria Angelica, go please. 2 minutes.
Okay. An advantage of learning by online ways is that we can find a lot of articles, information, and tools by the web, and we can interact by in different times with our online tutor. But what is the problem with this? The disadvantage of online learning is that sometimes we can't ask from our tutor any question that we need at this moment and at the exact moment. Sometimes we can find some information in the web, and we can compare with other words, with other, for example, translators when we're studying with learning English, for example. But when we have a presential or face-to-face teacher, is we can get a better understanding about different topics, and we can practice all the time in and out of our classroom. Moreover, we can interact with other people, no just talking about a singular topic of grammar or a topic related about English, but we can mix all vocabulary that we know or we're learning with our daily routines, our daily activities, and we can improve our language skills if we would speak in English in face-to-face environment. Um, Other way to learn English is reading. We can read a lot of grammar in English, but if we can't
Okay,
practice
time.
it at time, okay,
It's time. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. All right. So
okay.
Julian, it's your time. Go.
Okay, but Angelica talked about online learning. I agree with her because she said that with online learning we can find a lot of information on web, and I agree with her. In my opinion, I consider very important this way of learning because we will have many moments to acquire knowledge. Okay, I there is a disadvantage, and this is the answer in the right moment. Okay, but I prefer to choose this online learning because I can get a lot of information about the topic. About classroom with a teacher, I consider that we can practice and improve our knowledge because we can get more vocabulary, as she said, and I agree with her too. We can talk about many topics. We can get a lot of vocabulary, but I think that the problem is in this case we can lose time. For instance, if we have a partner with a low level, because we will have many heights or levels, many levels of knowledge. So it's all that we can get more in some opportunity, and we can practice all the time, and we can get a better understanding with the other partners. And for instance, in this case, what else? And no more.
Well, you still have 20 seconds, all right? 18.
18. Okay. I consider well, she didn't say about full immersion. I consider it's very necessary if we want to improve our language in high level. With a private tutor, we can get opportunities to answer questions that can arise at the moment.
Okay, time is over. Okay, that was very good. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, so what I liked about this second participation was that Julian, he talked about the different things Maria Angelica mentioned it on her participation. So in my opinion, that was very, very good. Thank you so much. Okay, so Carolina, you are the last one. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, listen. So in this case, you are going to take notes. I'm going to answer the question. Okay, and let me tell you something. I'm going to say crazy stuff. You know, I'm going to say something very, very bad about one of those options that we have there. So I want you to please be very attentive because you are going to agree or disagree with me. All right?
Okay.
Okay, so remember, take notes. I'm going to use 2 minutes on the clock. Okay, so I'm going to start.
Uh,
Okay, yeah,
yeah.
questions? Okay, so I'm going to start. Okay, so for me, the full immersion just has disadvantages. So the first disadvantage of the full immersion is that you need to spend a lot of money because you need to go and live in another country, and that's very difficult, because in my opinion, that's something that just rich people can do. For poor people or for people who don't have a lot of money, that's going to be very difficult because you need more than maybe $5,000 maybe per month or every 2 months. So that's going to be impossible. Another disadvantage for me is that if you are not very good, if you don't have a very good level before you leave the country where you are from, it's going to be completely impossible to you to be there to talk to people because you don't know their language. So it's going to be completely impossible. Also, for me, the cultural shock is going to be huge because, for example, in Colombia, if you are from Colombia, maybe you are used to have lunch and to have dinner and to have breakfast. And then when you go to the States, for example, you will see that some people don't have lunch. They just go and drink a coffee or maybe they eat some bread and that's it. So the full immersion is not a good way for me. I believe that the best option is to go to a classroom and be with a teacher and other students. And I know that some people are going to say that I'm crazy because the full immersion is great. But I have seen many people who haven't been abroad, who haven't traveled to other countries, and even though they are very good and they have a very good language and they didn't spend a lot of money traveling to another country and living there. So I really believe that the best option is to be with a teacher and many students, and I will avoid the full immersion option. That's not the option for me, and that's my opinion. Okay, Carolina. So go, 2 minutes.
Bueno, and in the opinion for teacher, I agree in full part the full immersion, and I'd say the equal that it's necessary that the person obtain a lot of money, yes, and it's necessary the continue in the in your country, in your city, in your town that the other people talk about, but in the same language, and in here Colombia, and not is ability. And for my, sorry, I think that is in this way, in this moment, it's not good, but it on learning with a private school, include with a teacher, another student, is other way that is much possible, and it's more it's more advantage, and for the student with learning and teaching.
Okay, you still have 40 seconds.
Okay. And I think that one advantage is a learning the more autonomous. Yeah. And there is a little more interaction. So it is almost personalized and has many advantages. The fact of being enabled and socially with other people, but disadvantage and that you don't have a teacher. There are two any those. It can be result and anytime.
Okay,
Oh,
time. Time on the clock. Okay, so Carolina, from my opinion, from my perspective, well, you agreed with me, so that's okay. You can agree with the other person when you are on a test. That's not a problem. Um, Maybe what I would suggest to you is to start trying to improve your pronunciation in some words, you know, because there are some words that I understand, but you need to pronounce them in a different form. So maybe you can read some books, and also you can listen to some words a lot of times, and that's going to help you. But you had some good ideas when you were talking, so it's just a matter of practicing with some words that are not correctly said, and that's what I will tell you right now.
Okay, teacher.
Okay, don't worry. Okay, guys, so we are going for the second part, and the second part is going to be more difficult, so I want you to be very concentrated, all right?
Right.
Okay, so I'm going to share, sorry, the screen with you again. Okay, so give me a second, and I'm going to show you the fourth part. Okay, so let's start with this one, okay? Let me share. Okay. So can you see the new picture on the screen?
No. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So it says part 4, okay? And it says 5 minutes. And in parentheses, it said 8 minutes for groups of 3. But now we are working in pairs as well. So it's going to be 5 minutes. So it says, it has some questions. I'm going to read the questions for you, and I want you to please check the words. If you have any questions about them, this is the moment to ask, okay? So first one is, in what ways can training change people's attitudes in the workplace? Question 2, some people think that school does not train young people adequately for the world of work today. Do you agree? Question 3, which is more important to teach people, a sense of team spirit or individual initiative? Why? How difficult is it for young people to find jobs nowadays in your country? Why? What can be done to create jobs for young people? Okay, so those are the questions we have. Do you have any problems with the vocabulary, or are the words okay for you?
You're okay.
Okay. Victor, no problem. Girls?
Yes. I agree.
Okay. So if we don't have any problems with the words, I'm going to tell you the strategy for this part 4, okay? So it's in pairs again. As you watch on the video, the one that you were supposed to watch before the class, in the video, you saw 3 people, a tutor or teacher and 2 students, okay? The tutor asked the question, and the 2 guys answered the question. The first one answered, and then the other one answered the question, okay? So it's very similar to what we did, but in this case, we are going to have 5 minutes per person, so we are going to have 10 minutes in total. And also, in this part, you are going to start interacting with the other person. Okay? So I'm going to ask the first question, and then from that moment on, you are going to start interacting with the other person, asking the next question and asking the next question, okay? So basically, that's it. So I asked the first one, for example, hey, in what ways can training change people attitudes in the workplace? So one of you answered, then the other person answers as well and tells if that person agrees or disagrees, and then you start asking the other person the rest of the questions that you can have. We are going to have not 10 minutes because we can't finish in 10 minutes. We are going to have maybe 6 or 7 per pair. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So we need
Okay.
to start. Okay, so maybe I can start with one of you, so I can work in pair with one of you, and that way you can see how it works. All right. So who wants to start with me?
I will.
Sorry, Julian or Victor?
Luis.
Oh, Luis, man, you are not on the picture. Okay, let's do it. Okay,
Are you
so
listening to me?
yeah, I am.
Okay.
Okay, so in this exercise, we are going to have just 5 minutes per pair because we don't have more time, all right? So let's just start. So I'm going to be the teacher, and also I'm going to be the person who is going to work with you. So the first question
Oh,
is mine as a teacher. Okay, so
okay.
in what ways can training change people's attitudes in the workplace?
So the training is quite important since, for example, you don't have skills and you're not an expert. You need some guidance from other one who is more experienced than you, who has more even more expertise. So I think it's quite useful to have someone to train you. Otherwise, you can be an independent learner, but it's not the same. You can make a lot of mistakes, and since you have someone like a guide by your side, is going to increase, your levels to be extremely successful. So I think having a training is quite important at the workplace. So what do you think about it?
Well, this is very interesting, because nowadays in the universities that we have in Colombia and also in some other institutes, we have this discussion about what it's better to have training or just to go to the university and receive certification by the end of your 5 years of studying. So, in my opinion, training is a really nice part of having a work people, or how can I say this? People who can work in different vocational situations in the world. Because sometimes we don't need more engineers or maybe more doctors. Sometimes what we need is people who can work with electricity or people who can work with wood. So in that sense, training is the best option nowadays for some people who don't have the opportunity to go to the university. That's what I
Yeah,
believe.
that's great.
Okay,
Right.
so
I totally.
thank you. Hey, by the way, some people think that school does not train young people adequately for the world of work today. Do you agree?
Well, that might be true, but let me tell you something. Personal experience, when I finished, high school, at that time that we didn't have, lots of opportunities. I'm noticing, for example, that in this day and age, lots of students in our country have a lot of opportunities. For example, they can study some, technical careers. So when they finish, for example, 11th grade, they have a lot of options. They can, have some skills to make their living. So I think it's nowadays is quite important. I wish I could have one of those opportunities long ago, but I didn't have any. So personally, I think that schools are giving, like such a good training for students in order to get jobs. So do you agree? Do you have the same opportunities?
Well, yeah, I really agree. I have seen how, for example, Sena in Colombia has given some options to some high schools. Nowadays, we can see that there are some options where Sena go to high schools and people from the 10th or 11th grade can study some vocational training from Sena, and that way they can have better opportunities when they finish their high school, in 11th grade. Because in the past, for example, if you just finish something like the regular high school, it would be very difficult to get a job. But nowadays, when they are studying this kind of vocational trainings, they have better opportunities and they can go to the market and see what they can find without going to the university, which is something very difficult nowadays because of the money you need to spend.
Right. That's correct.
Okay, so another question for you. Which is more important to teach people, a sense of team spirit or individual initiative?
Well, I think it's unfair to start talking about one special skill. I think it's important in nowadays to be a team player. Although sometimes it's necessary to start working on your own. So, for example, let's take UNAD as an example. We here, for example, when we have to submit a work, it is important to start doing it individually. But finally, the main goal, or the most important achievement, is to do it, collaboratively. So I think it's very important to learn to how to do both, but essentially it's better to be a team player. So not to be selfish, to understand other people and the pros and the cons, but in the long run, I think it's better to work as a team, and you have some good, nice experiences. That's my point of view. Do you share the same opinion, or you have some disadvantages about this?
Well, I thought you were going to say something like, well, it's just a team spirit what we have to teach people because the individual initiative is not good. But it was very nice to see that you also talked about the individual initiative because, in my opinion, that's completely important. Sometimes when we teach people just to be part of a team and to work for a team, they forget that it's also important to have that individual part in yourself. because people need to also go and fight for their dreams, for the things they want. And sometimes you need to have that individual part in your heart, in your soul, because otherwise you are not going to get it. That's what I believe. So I really agree with you. You need both parts. And of course, the team part is completely important as well as the individual.
That's right, especially at
Okay.
UNAT.
Yeah, especially here. Okay, so we have the 5 minutes. Thank you so much. This was very, very good. Thank you so much, Luis.
My pleasure.
Okay, guys. So we need another pair to continue.
Me?
Okay, thank you. Okay, Julian. Okay, and we need another person.
Me. I want to participate right now.
Okay, Maria Angelica. All right, guys. So I'm going to give you 4 minutes because we don't have more time. Okay. So I'm going to
Okay,
ask the
teacher.
first question. You answer, then the other person answers, and then you continue on your own. Okay, with the questions that you can see on the screen. Okay, so let's go. Okay, guys. So, in what ways can training change people's attitudes in the workplace?
Well, it's very important to take into account this topic because people can improve their attitudes in the workplace, and through sharing a lot of time with their partners, okay, with their work partners, with the partners. It's necessary to spend time with the boss, okay, in order to apply new strategies and new methodologies and technological resources to improve the abilities. What do you think about this topic, Maria Angelica?
Okay, I believe the best way to improve the attitude from people is that all people can have all tools and all opportunities to work well in the best way. But what is the most important thing? I believe that the people can feel comfortable and can get comfortable environment talking about working place because um, they have a lot of time working in the same place with the same people, and it's very important that we can feel good, feel relaxed, and we have all tools that we need to develop each work.
Thank you. Third,
Okay, in this moment, you need to start asking the questions. Okay.
okay. Some
Okay.
people some people think that the school does not train young people adequately for the world of work today. Do you agree?
Mm, I agree with the part and disagree with the other part. I'm going to explain you. I agree. The main that the people think sometimes think that all learnings have to be totally prepared, finishing every career, and that's not correct because we can practice or we can learn when we're practicing in a real time. For the reason, I think that the training of young people is adequately in the way that they can practicing and they can improve their own skills and can show their abilities for each work.
Ask me, please. No?
Yeah, Maria Angelica, you need to ask
Mm-mm.
something like, "Hey, so what do you believe, or what do you think?" Or
Okay, about this question,
yeah.
do you agree, Julian?
Yes. I agree with you in some parts. Okay, I think that the schools are not training our students very well because it's necessary that they learn what they will use at the future for for their laboral experience, for the laboral environment. So it's necessary that
Mhm.
our schools modify the curriculum in order to apply knowledge according to the abilities of our students. Okay, but nowadays our schools are teaching many topics, many topics about unreal things, and
Mhm.
it's necessary that our students get experience in the laboral world according to their real life.
Okay, stop. Okay, 5 minutes. Sorry, just
Oh,
4 minutes. Okay, I'm sorry, but it was okay. Thank you so much, guys. Okay,
okay,
so
teacher.
for the final group, I'm going to give you just 3 minutes because we need to finish and we only have some minutes on the clock. Okay, so I'm going to give you 3 minutes, guys. Okay, so I'm going to start with the first question. One of you answer. Carolina, are you ready?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, so let's do it. Okay, so one answers and then the other also answers and then you start. Okay, sorry, you continue. Okay, so let's do it. So, guys, in what ways can training change people's attitudes in the workplace? Victor, you want to go first?
Yes, must I answer the question?
Yeah, please
Uh,
answer.
Yes, the training in the workplace is so important because we are in a world that is changing constantly, evolving constantly. And just now in this globalized world, it is necessary in every job, in every enterprise or institution to train the people, the staff of that institution or that enterprise constantly to compete, or maybe not to compete. It is must, but I consider, for example, it is so important to go with the changes of the world. We can suppose, for example, the technology just now. It is important. I have a lot of difficulties with technologies, but I have decided to study in this way, and it is also it is so difficult for me, but I must try every day to improve my development in this field. And it is the same in the education part. When we need to teach just now, we must constantly actualizing our knowledge with the students because we have the future of our country in our hands.
Okay, Victor, remember that in this part 4, you need to start asking some questions like, hey, Carolina, so what do you think about what we just mentioned or what I said? Okay, so she can continue.
I must do the question.
Well, somehow, but in this part, you answer the question. So now you need to ask Carolina what she thinks about what you said. Okay,
Oh,
so you can use expression like, okay, so Carolina, what do you think?
okay, Carolina, what do you think about my intervention?
Okay, and I agree for this part. And you say that the people need more starting and when out your comfort, and it's very necessary that the we person um eh, prepare better that and noise is it's necessary that continue with the same. And in this country, I think that it's more. Oh no.
Okay, don't worry. So 2 minutes on the clock. Okay, guys. So now I need to just finish this phone call because I need to go with the other group. So thank you so much for being here. Remember that this week you have the collaborative work on debates. And I guess you also have chosen one of the different schedules available for the collaborative debate. If you haven't done
Mm-hmm.
that part, go to your platform and please check the different options the teacher or the tutor Liliana gave because you need to
Email.
do it this week, all right?
Right, teacher.
Right.
Okay, maybe we will see if we are going to be together, but I'm not sure. Okay, guys, so thank you so much for being here. I'm going to continue with the other group. Have a good night.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Good
Thank you very
night.
much, teacher.
See you guys.
Bye.